Today we have a very unusual and special guest that is coming to us from Baja California. It's Mr. Fernando Vossa of the Global Breakthrough Energy Movement. Welcome, Fernando.
Thank you, Alfred, for having me on this program, Exo University, Exopolitics, and being your personal friend, we both have had opportunity to experience amazing revelations, such as our South African trip to Adam's Calendar, hosted by Michael Tellinger, and the Contact in the Desert Conference in Joshua Tree. Those were two portal transformations that we both went through.
Right. And now we're looking at the coming year and more in terms of breakthrough energy. So could you unfold that for us as you see it?
The breakthrough energy movement was started in Amsterdam, Holland, by 4 individuals who brainstormed the idea of having a conference specific for breakthrough technologies. Most people are aware of free energy and that nomenclature. And what we want to bring out is that this is very multidisciplinary. It's not just one technology. And it is also not going to be free. It's going to require us to make investment in money, in time, but also in the way we think about energy. So the breakthrough energy movement is, how do we become free energy humans? What does it mean to become sustainable? Not only the traditional sense of water, food, and energy, but also mentally sustainable and spiritually sustainable. So that opens up an opportunity to make breakthroughs in a variety of sciences, but also involve the dialogue of art and what we used to consider parasciences, including our relationship with our galactic neighbors. Isn't it time to open that up?
Totally. Now, just to get in through a kind of a window that our viewers are very familiar with, you had a fascinating way of talking about how our society actually has ancient roots in teleportation, and now that's a new energy technology of the not too distant future. There are ways that we can start looking at that as we begin to bring it online in the years to come. So please share that with us.
We have a lot of vocabulary that comes from the science fiction world. And we understand that science fiction is a platform to be able to explore concepts and ideas that at the moment weren't open up in academia. We didn't have the vocabulary that was available to us in science fiction. And interestingly enough, art, fine art, is also a platform that allows us to explore freely concepts and deconstruct reality. So the idea with teleportation and what we can call time travel or time control is to first change the description of what we think time travel is, or teleportation, because we have this 3-dimensional bias in everything that we do, in our science, in our physics, and even in the stuff your parents teach you or the media. So one of the things that happens on the spiritual side of what we call awakening is to open yourself up to know that this 3-dimensional world that we live in, and it's comparable to the visible spectrum of light, is very narrow. Science already tells us that we live in a multi-dimensional reality. What's interesting is that we have ancient cultures from many thousands of years ago that have written in their stonework, in their ancient papyrus writings, and in their monumental cities. They're teaching us that we already had a connection to this whole concept of teleportation and time control, and it's a subset, a whole variety of human capabilities. How would it be if we really understood that our physical body has also a superpositioning presence in other parts of the galaxy and the universe? How would it be if we really understood that our consciousness can experience separation and duality here on Earth, but our consciousness is also able to be in other kinds of elements, like crystals, like in the natural elements and in animals. What if we tied that information that we're discovering at Fermi labs and in CERN, the particle accelerators, we connected that with what is being taught from ancient cultures? We're going to find that this language of frequency and resonance, as Tesla talked about, are the building blocks of what's available at our DNA level. You know the work of William Brown very, very well, right? Which really shows us that there is an anatomy and a path from the light structures that are at the nanoscale, the molecules of our DNA, and how this physical body gets expressed. What if we have the capability of being in many places at the same time, but it's not a linear path. You don't have to go from point A to point B. Those are just artifacts of a 3D construct. What if point A and point B are the same thing? And what if the idea of the envelope of time around point A and point B are also, it's also part of the same energy? So as many researchers are pointing, let's move away from the physical evidence and move into the energetic evidence of teleportation and time travel. Take a breath, huh?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So tell us more about some of the technologies that you are now looking at and how you're thinking of bringing these online over the next years.
For my research, and I work in several fields. I work in the area of free energy research, or now we call it breakthrough energy. This is the understanding that we can tap into the vacuum of space. We can tap into the air around us, and in concert with how nature does it, harmonize with energy so we can ask of these spaces a kind of electricity that can power our current homes and lights and so forth, but it also can harmonize with our bodies. The other side of my work is in healing technology. How do we understand aging in the body? How do we tap into the ability of the body to communicate with us? Because right now our mind is very separate than the mechanism, the energy, the intelligence that runs this body, right? We have to go to a doctor in a white lab coat somewhere to tell us if we're sick and what's wrong with us. Isn't it ridiculous, this notion that we're not connected with our bodies? Why can't our bodies tell us what's wrong with it? What I started finding, Alfred, after I started creating several prototypes, one of them I called the Sonic Reiki device. And I have videos on it on my YouTube channel, Vossa Media. I identified a series of common elements: crystals, water, magnetics, light, color, and frequency of sound and thought. There's like 7 elements that are the common building blocks of teleportation and time control and healing and free energy. Same thing. It's the same energy resonating at different frequencies. What I started seeing is that there's this field of intelligence that's around our bodies. Some cultures recognize it as the Merkaba field. Other approaches start talking about the human aura. And we're seeing in the laboratories that every piece of tissue in our body puts out light at different frequencies. It may not be in the visible spectrum yet. I wanted to know, is healing the body the same as generating free energy? And is that the same approach as teleporting and so forth? And right now what I'm getting is that yes, we're playing with the same source intelligence. What do you think? Isn't that going to open up some interesting doors?
Well, yes, because the way that I think is that we humans are all, and this is from replicable science, we all are built around or contain our avatars. Let's see, your avatar is Fernando, and that's how you're traversing the time-space hologram, and I'm traversing it with my avatar that's called Alfred. But embedded in that is a holographic fragment of source. And so one of the principles of the hologram, as we know, is that the whole is contained in the part. So paradoxically, in each of us is contained the whole of the multiverse. So it stands to reason that all of these interchanging energies are the same, and basically what we're changing is interference patterns. The other discovery has been that teleportation and time travel are the basic modalities that intelligent civilizations use to get around in the multiverse. From the afterlife, that is, when you know, your body life ends and your soul leaves the body, you go through you hear find the light, you go through a natural interdimensional portal, and you teleport through that portal into the dimension of the afterlife. And that's teleportation. Similarly, when you've been in life review and you're ready to assume a new life inside the time-space hologram, these are like virtual reality experiences that we have. The soul then teleports through an interdimensional portal right up next to the avatar of the mother, the body of the mother, and about 3 months prior to birth, in a normal birth, embeds itself in the fetus in the womb of the mother, and then gets into her frequencies and then is born. So teleportation and time travel are the normal modalities in this multiverse.
It makes spiritual sense.
Yeah.
And I have direct experience with that process you just described. When I was 8 years old, my family moved from Mexico to Alaska because my dad got a job in the Alaska pipeline.
Yeah.
And when I was there only about a couple months, in the middle of winter, I got lost on the way home. And I used to live near a military base in Anchorage, Alaska.
Whoa.
And so you would have huge fields near the forest, and there'd be lights of the neighborhood, but it's still a long way. Somewhere in there, I got lost. And I was laying down on the ground in below zero weather, and I wasn't dressed appropriately. So you could say I was nearing freezing point for my body. What happened was I woke up outside of my body, surrounded by this loving intelligence telling me, we know who you are. We are you. And we want to show you more of what you are. You know, it's a way to describe a telepathic download. I saw my body taken, and I couldn't tell the difference if it was physical or energetic, like an astral, because I didn't have that vocabulary at 8 years old. And I wasn't scared, but I saw the earth get small, and we were heading toward the sun. I even remember passing a satellite on the way up. When we went toward the sun, the first thing I realized, it's not hot. I thought we would melt, or whatever it is that I was. We went through a layer like an ocean of light. It wasn't quite liquid like our ocean, but it wasn't quite air or gassy like another planet. Under a particular layer of plasma energy in the sun, we were in this airport of souls and bodies and ships. Some things were the size of a human, some things were the size of a planet. And there were entities of different sizes going through the sun. Some were physical, like something you could touch. Some were ethereal, energetic. Flying around this interchange of energy, we went into a particular vortex, like a hole, and we appeared instantly in the middle of the Milky Way. And this energy was talking to me throughout the whole thing, almost like giving me a tour. At the center of the Milky Way, what I saw was an energetic structure like a giant yin and yang symbol of light and dark energy pulsing like a heartbeat, like that. And I was told this is where multidimensional energy comes into the three-dimensional universe and gets expressed in form and in physicality. I was shown that surrounding the event horizon was where stars are seeded to be born. The galaxy is a giant female egg that's fertilized and giving life. We went through the center of the galaxy and appeared in a different part of the universe. I don't know where. And I was shown a giant galaxy of billions of stars in different colors and frequencies. And I was told, this is as close as we can come at your level of consciousness to know what you are. This is you. And every human on Earth, their soul group belongs to a galaxy like this. I was shown how the galaxy collapses into a small point of light and gets seated inside the womb of my mother. I was shown how that occurred, roughly around the time you were talking about. They said that the soul energy of a collapsed galaxy cannot enter until a particular level of development in the fetus, or else it would just burn up. I was shown how I was born back on Earth, and I am in contact with that energy all the time. I don't have to channel. It just is part of my consciousness. So now when I went back to school, I woke up maybe 8, 9 hours later the next early morning, and I was in my front door by my house. There was no way to explain this experience. So that was my first real physical interaction with the multiversal version of my soul. Isn't that interesting?
It is absolutely fascinating, and there's a lot to parse there. So as humanity is now being admitted into the mysteries into the conscious mysteries of teleportation and time travel as a programmatic and instrumental part of its planetary routine, that's going from a zero-type civilization to a one-type. A zero-type civilization are the civilizations that consume their nest in order to live, the fossil fuel,
yes,
etc. And the word is that many zero-type civilizations self-destruct before they become a one-type civilization, which would be the civilization that draws on free energy, that is the interstices of space, and to go forward.
Harnesses the power of an entire planet,
yeah,
or harnesses the power of an entire sun.
Yeah,
I'm careful about that definition of the evolution of consciousness as far as a types of civilization, and Michio Kaku is a big one of pushing those ideas, is that it presents a type of weaponization of the level of use of energy.
The thing is that Michio Kaku has promoted it, but if you actually go back, what he was promoting...
He's not the originator, for sure.
Yeah, it's the Kardashev scale.
Yes, the Kardashians.
Yeah, now, what we have done, and this is going to be published in our new book, Dimensions, the Ecology of the Multiverse, the typology that we have introduced is called the dimension-based typology of intelligent civilizations, because that is based on the deepest typological identity of intelligence, and that is the dimension in which they're based. That's how they identify themselves. They say, I'm an Arcturian from the 6th dimension, i.e. they describe the frequency of consciousness in which they are based.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the typology that we have developed to supplant the Kardashev scale.
What I propose, and Alfred, we can work on this together, is to come up with the topology of teleportation. Because we have one model that suggests that teleportation is something external from us. We have to walk through some kind of doorway, step into a jump room, or have something projected on our bodies, like in Star Trek, so we can appear somewhere else. And To me, that's a limited understanding of what is available to us in this teleportation phenomena. To me, the ability to traverse different locations in the universe, in the multiverse, is proportional to the frequency of our awareness in any given point. So if we understand, imagine you were going to develop a teleportation training program for individuals. And this training program would involve the body, the mind, and the spirit all working together. Imagine it's kind of like when you're training people how to do base jumping and eventually be able to do parachuting and eventually do wingsuit flying and eventually be able to fly with no implements. Instead of starting in Maslow's hierarchy of needs with the physical body and physical training, we start with the spiritual training and then the mental and then move to the body. As we are training our consciousness to understand immediate motion between space and time, it helps feed the reality, the physical quantum hologram, to manifest that technology. If more people believed in teleportation, more teleportation would be available. Children believe in teleportation. They do it in their dream time. They do it in their pre-life. So most children early on are comfortable with the idea of teleportation and time control. It is humans in our system that we kind of beat it out of them, right? What I'm suggesting too is the manifestation, or we might say the timeline, of a reality where teleportation is ubiquitous is proportional to our acceptance and belief in it. Before, people who handled steam engine but couldn't handle internal combustion, it took a while for people to even want to believe that it existed. But as soon as those examples were shown and they were more readily acceptable, suddenly we had all kinds of internal combustion manifesting, right? I say we are on the precipice of manifesting teleportation in so many ways, more ways than the government could understand, or DARPA, or anybody else. Because if we do this weaponized, kind of like what the military did, just like every other technology, it has a limited range of functionality. But if we do this humanized and spiritualized, the technology has access to much more intelligence from the vacuum. You might say we're tapped into love and God directly. The vacuum wants to help us teleport. The light body wants to teleport because it knows how to do it, right? So what I'm suggesting is to start conditioning and training our awareness of teleportation, just like what you're doing, but involve the language of healing and mix the language of spirituality so that it gets expressed in the physical, tools, in the implements.
Well, that makes a great deal of sense, because it's teleportation and time travel are organically interconnected with a paradigm shift, with a consciousness shift of humanity that is occurring now and will accelerate as over these next several years. A consciousness shift into the quantum, into the whole, from duality consciousness to unity consciousness, where we're all one. Mm-hmm. And one can say that it's that the greatest block to propagation of consciousness now is propagation of teleportation and time travel now is the consciousness block. Now, part of that is the propaganda that the military state has put out over the years to, as you said, to make it look fantastical and science fiction, so that it's been hidden for 40 years. But that's starting to break down. But I agree with you with that, and I'd like to share a couple of potential anecdotes.
Okay.
In that same vein. And these are anecdotes because it's anecdotal evidence. There's a Spanish researcher, very interesting woman, who I met, and we've become friends. I met her at a conference in Spain and what she has presented was that the entire Mayan culture was actually built around teleportation and time travel, and that they actually deformed the skull to do certain things around the third eye, and the pineal gland, and deformed it in a way that facilitated physical time travel. And this is through natural stargates and natural wormholes that the body can create. And that was the purpose of the Mayan culture, that they may have picked it up from, for example, Pleiadians, the Mayan calendar being a Pleiadian technology. Now, there's a colleague of mine, Will Allen, who is based in Washington, D.C., who is he served under 3 administrations on Air Force One, and he's an extraordinary photographer and radiographer, and he photographs interdimensional spacecraft landing on the Capitol, landing on Senate office buildings, playing over the
Wow.
White House, because he has an implant. He says that the intelligent civilizations call him in to photograph when they come in through the interdimensional wormholes that they create. Now, to get to the point of the story, he was photographing in the Capitol reflecting pool, that long reflecting pool, the Capitol Mall, and he was photographing a gray ET swimming in the reflecting pool, and at the other end of the reflecting pool there was a group of classical Maya, dressed in classical Maya dress.
Wow.
So he thought that there were two, in fact, we were discussing it, that there were two options. Either the Greys had brought them there, through the Greys had beamed them up to their ship and kind of brought them there to be part of the photograph. The other possibility is that the Mayas had actually time traveled to that point themselves through this cultural thing, through this cultural ability to time travel and teleport. And so here you have an entire culture, the Maya, that allegedly that's what they did. And this is we actually
Can you imagine the anthropology opportunity to study a time traveling and teleporting culture?
Yeah. So we now have photographs of it. We have photographs of a cluster of Maya and classical Maya from the classical period standing at the edge of the Capitol reflecting pool, and with the evidence from this Spanish researcher saying, and she has a very rigorous presentation showing that they deformed the skull so as to do certain practices whereby they can do actual physical teleportation and time travel using their pineal gland. It's built into the human being. So what you're saying is there's verification of it.
There's also the lack of evidence we don't know where all the bodies are of the Mayan culture. Yeah. A lot of the Egyptian people, Incan people. There's not enough graves and bones to account for the size of the cities that are available to us right now. What the writings say, the Mayan codices and engravings on some of the stonework, is they left. The whole city of Teotihuacan took off into the stars, because the name Teotihuacan means where men became gods, where we moved into the sky, right? I know that it's going to be interesting as we reveal the entire Anunnaki lineage and the Pleiadian lineage from Lemuria, how a lot of them are not here anymore. They weren't even buried here.
Yeah. And that was the point of the Spanish researcher, that one hypothesis was that it isn't that the Mayan civilization disappeared, is that it time travel teleported to another point in the multiverse.
And researchers like David Starita talk about, his research is about identifying the resonant frequencies of stars and planets and how to pulse magnets and crystals together at those frequencies as a way to engage the universal physical property that's available to us of moving from one frequential position in the time-space hologram to another. So he's able to do meditations with his pulsing pyramids at the frequencies of the star Vega or one of the Pleiadian systems and have an interchange, because that creates an entanglement between 2 points. When you have coherence of frequency, the universe already knows through physics that these 2 points are communicating with each other, just like 2 electrons with the right spin entangled with each other, and they're the same electron technically. What is interesting is, what is the mechanism in our bodies at our DNA level, like William Brown is showing, that automatically speaks the language of teleportation? It's one of the many hidden languages of the universe. Light, color, sound, that there's a phenomenon expressed instead of words. Like when you build a sentence, when you're writing, you're building a story of positioning between locations. It's natural, and you might say it's almost laughably easy for the universe to do that. We also, and you know this very well, Alfred, we live in a particular planet that has a particular energetic grid that is a sensor to these frequencies. We are corrupted by chemistry and stress and pollution and fear, and the entire atmosphere of our Earth is shielded from us ascending to those frequencies. It's like activating our pineal gland has been systematically blocked, so we don't have access to this knowledge. Do you feel that?
Yes. Yes.
So people who ask, well, how come we're not teleporting, or how come we're not experiencing this? First, we have to get past that aspect that we are doing it. We just are not aware of it. And we don't have conscious control of it because there's a system in place for us not to have that at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, and it doesn't mean everybody has been subject to that control. There are many elevated souls who can break through that and have that experience.
Yes. Now, there are some theories that that system, which is called the Matrix, is actually an externally imposed system that may be operating through an artificial satellite which is disguised as a celestial object, which is in our near environment.
Yes.
It's known as the moon.
And the language that we talk about when we talk about HARP or chemtrails, we say weather modification. Let's talk about reality modification. That's what these tools are about, right?
Yeah.
And part of that reality serves a deep purpose for our soul learning. This is the matrix, the best matrix money can buy. We paid for this video game, you might say, in a way. And our soul wishes this separation experience. But the time clock is up. Its purpose has been served. And now it's time to unravel ourselves from the matrix. Do you agree?
Yes, yes. And to become an advanced human planet.
And I'm sure you've come across a great deal of research where we can start practicing teleportation, and there are many tools available to us to start, you might say, evolving an inner language of acceptance of it. One of the pathways, which seems like a tangent for some people, is psychedelic drugs, DMT specifically, and ayahuasca. Graham Hancock will share a little bit of insights about that there is source intelligence in plants and in nature waiting for us to trip over them so we can engage and activate that remembering. At least with a DMT trip, we have access to a different astral planes of existence that are probably low fifth dimensional experiences, but we're still conscious while we're having them, right? How would you do a teleportation training program of consciousness? I think one type is psychedelic training, to learn how to be out of your body and out of this reality without going crazy.
Yeah, guided meditation. Now, there are, however, I'm thinking of other ways. For example, a colleague of mine, you may know him, Jerry Wills, a healer. He was left here reportedly, but I think there's good evidence to back this up. He was left here as an infant from Tau Ceti as part of the Project of Worlds. So he's from a human planet in the Tau Ceti system, and he was left here as part of the Project of Worlds. Now, he routinely leads expeditions down to South America, specifically Peru, where he'll find natural stargates and teleports through them. So one can, the other way is to begin to become sensitive enough that one begins to find natural stargates, and that can be through not necessarily using a psychedelic path, but a path of meditation and awareness, and then using a guide like a Jerry Wills, who has learned how to navigate through natural stargates.
And there's a buffer zone of technology available to us in physicality in 3D, which borders on this, what we would consider fourth dimensional vibration, such as the zeta reticuli, which we would call the gray hybrids, have access and knowledge of how to surf the natural currents of time-space folding available to us in every solar system. And there are those natural currents, just like there are in water and air, also in space. And as we have encountered, there are civilizations that are at an energetic level where they have light ships that are conscious light ships. They are entities that house souls to travel across the stars in distances that are beyond our consciousness, right? And there's probably beyond that ways to explore this creation that are completely outside of our consciousness at the moment. So I agree that we have an opportunity to trace the steps of our ancient cultures, as well as come up with the terrestrial Earth human version of space travel, which is going to be unique in its own way, right? Because of our consciousness.
Because space travel is actually time-space travel.
And there is time-space and there's space-time, and those are like two polarities that we can jump between.
Exactly.
I believe that as we start exploring outside of our solar system, I know we have already done it, but as we do it more mainstream, you might say, we're going to find buffer zones of energy where there's a certain physics here on Earth, and then there's a certain physics at the solar system level. And then at the galactic level is a much more extended rule set of what's available to consciousness. And outside of the galaxy, we're going to find an extended level of all of the forces of nature that can interact with our consciousness in ways where we will be seamlessly, superconductively be manipulating reality, you might say, by flowing with it.
Now one, so that what you have put forth, I think, is critically important, is very important, because this is bringing humanity to a higher and conscious level of awareness of teleportation, which then can take technologies that are now sequestered inside the national security state as weapons. Because we know, because of our mutual colleague and whistleblower, Andy Basiago, who has now teleported for over 40 years, that Donald H. Rumsfeld stated that teleportation has been developed but its sole purpose is to get U.S. troops from point A to point B in the battlefield. So they have that that war mentality. You know, we'll get them from North Carolina to Syria. We'll teleport them in. Yeah, boots on the ground. So it's this you know, duality consciousness. I win, you lose. Boom. Whereas we're on one planet. This is unity consciousness. That old book is closing. That's the last turn around the black hole of the Milky Way. Now, so if as these technologies that are released from the inner sequesters of the national security state, and then they can be almost deconstructed through love and harmony. You know, they beat their swords into plowshares. Well, you beat weaponized teleportation into a, you know, something that is the flowering and the flourishing of humanity on this planet.
Part of the artifacts that are from weaponized technology, and we both know Andy and other teleporters are suffering physical issues, maladies, because of their experiences with that energy.
Oh, yes, yes.
We have, for example,
yeah.
when people get on a plane and they pressurize your body and depressurize it, you talk to stewardesses and pilots that have been doing this as a career, and their bodies are devastated by that. Because the way we have airline travel, it is a subset of weaponized technology to build military jets. And we have the same thing with teleporters.
Exactly. Every single whistleblower that I've spoken to who has either teleported or time traveled or both has serious physical disabilities that are getting more serious with time from that technology, because they were looked at as guinea pigs. They were deemed to be expendable.
Yes.
They were promised all sorts of things, including medical care. They're not even given medical care. And I think that the generation before that, from what I was told, they had an agreement with South American governments to get kids off the street in South America, and they would be the guinea pigs. These are street kids.
And it would be interesting to do a write-up on PTSD, post-teleporting stress disorder.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is an artifact of weaponized technology, because the masculine approach is to brute force energy out of nature. Somehow we feel we need to explode something or burn something or kill something to get our way, to get internal combustion or nuclear or oil to work. What these advanced civilizations are teaching us are that we can harmonize with nature and play together like music. And it's good for your body because it is part of the natural process of your body. We should have technology, like when you fly in an airline, you should come out rejuvenized and healthy. Your immune system should be stronger when you do airline travel. And you should be much more sexually potent. You should be over certain diseases if indeed the engineers and scientists were coming from a love, benevolent point of view. Do you agree?
I agree, and these are great concepts. So these are, so when I ask, well, what are you looking at in the future? This is a fantastic answer, which is not only bringing these technologies public, but really transforming them from a duality consciousness point of view to a unity consciousness point of view into a world of cosmic love and a world of transparent light.
Imagine if you went to the airport and instead of the invasive TSA experience of getting searched and going through those dangerous metal detectors, and imagine being able to go to a detoxifier where before you go through a Stargate, you're actually grounded and tuned to the Schumann resonance of the planet of the moment, because that changes, and your bioelectric magnetic field around your body is harmonized with this destination. Like if I'm going from New York to Paris, New York and Paris have two magnetically different fields. And if we are able to prep our body and our consciousness ahead of time, you're going to arrive refreshed, ready for your visit to the Champs-Élysées or the Eiffel Tower, right? This is the kind of thinking I want to bring to the free energy movement. As we're creating these black boxes of electricity, I'm saying we already have weaponized thinking in that way. If you were to take a heart rate monitor or a blood pressure monitor or a galvanic skin response or many of the other things, measure your body when you're standing next to a free energy device and seeing if it's healing your body, if it's bringing down your stress, right? When you have unity consciousness in science and you bring in aesthetics, things that are beautiful for us, we can start developing technology that looks incredible, like it came from heaven. And if you put one of these free energy devices built out of consciousness at a hospital, it'll restructure the water in the building. It'll tune the building to a resonant frequency of healing and accelerated DNA activation. You will be able to see a reduced bacterial and virus count in that space. Hospitals and schools and so forth should be the healthiest buildings you can step in. You're a better human for interacting in those places. This is what I'm bringing to the free energy world, this consciousness that our technology should be beautiful and it should heal us, as well as give us electricity. Because if all we do is power our toasters and our microwaves and our televisions, we didn't do a damn thing with free energy. Do you agree?
Correct.
We should be inventing appliances that run on light and color and sound, so you can have a healing bath in your shower with a certain frequency of light on your body. We should be able to have a kitchen appliances that tune your food for more nutritional content and be able to activate intention of cancer and HIV and so forth to be released out of your body. We already know it's in the field, it's in the energetics, right?
Yeah, and this goes along with very advanced thinking. For example, the contactee reports that we know of is that those extraterrestrial spaceships, which are in charge of interacting with the cetaceans, with the whales and the dolphins, who are the primary allies. We think that the primary allies of on the planet are the humans. No, not really. The primary allies are the whales and the cetaceans, because they're like unity consciousness. And they apparently they're beamed up to ships. See, these are actually reports from observers on the ships. And inside these specialized ships, they have tubs, and they have tubs with whales in them and dolphins, mainly whales. And the whales get these downloads, which are multicolored downloads. And these are the ETs which are downloading all sorts of, concepts and download higher revelation feeds into the whales, so that then they get downloaded and they can bring them down into the oceans, and then they are more enlightened, and then they can spread that vibe into the planet. So and the downloads that they're getting are multicolored. So the ETs work with multicolored when they're downloading to the whales. So what you say makes a great deal of sense, that color is used in the transmission of high harmonic frequencies that involve love and light and highly advanced information.
One of the interesting tools that's available to us is accessing the human Akash, the energetic record of all life. The cetaceans, the whales and the dolphins, in their bodies have access, like a librarian, to the human Akash, as you might say, the guardians of our true history. And the Akash includes future energetic constructs as well as what we consider past, because both of those are the same. We are now seeing hybrid dolphins and whales that have genetics of both. whale and dolphin. And this new species that more and more is going to be revealed are like the generation of cetaceans that are the guides through the ascension process of Earth. This is the result after 2012. How interesting is that we get meteor impacts and flybys, and that cosmic dust and that matter is new DNA, energetic sequences being sent to us. Because the Earth is a cell in a neuron in a much larger brain, in a much larger body. And we get antibodies and neurotransmitters and so forth coming through our solar system. This comet Ison that we're going to be seeing in November is such a light shift. I think it is a type of biosphere bringing a whole new genetic sequence to our planet. And it'll be interesting to see the effect of Comet Ison in November, right?
Well, we'll see. I have to say on a cautionary note that just last week I interviewed a New Zealand, an astronomer from New Zealand who's observed it, and he states, look, it's just a comet. So, you know. Well,
I have trouble with anybody saying it's just a whatever, thinking that they know what the word comet is or what a comet is.
Yeah.
When you've had esoteric experiences and been alongside comets,
sure.
If we understand an energetic communication system, a messenger of sorts,
right. Okay.
that's galactic, whether we want to see it as something advanced or not, we have a very limited understanding. But these are not just rocks being flung across the universe randomly. This is not what the star nations are telling us. If you look at the writings from the Dogon people, from any of the ancient tribes in Africa, they'll tell you the role of comets as bringers of information.
Oh, sure, sure. Between
so,
that, no, right. I can see that, but between that and it being a spaceship, why would it not just time travel and move, you know, outside of time and space? But anyway,
I think there's some procedural sequences that unfold, and from our time-space perspective, it looks slow. You know, why does it take that comet so many years to get here and to leave? Yeah. But we have a very limited perspective about the flow of matter surrounding our planet.
Yeah. No, I don't discount that there is an astrological meaning to it, such as there are deep astrological and synchronistic meanings to the configuration of all of the planets and to celestial bodies or phenomena like comets coming in, and that it is it can be a signifier of things. I mean, there have been highly heralded comets that, you know, nothing happened.
One of the things that you bring up is that there's going to be an intense disruption of everything that we know about as far as teleportation. You know, just the airlines and the gasoline and all of that. What I'm suggesting is to begin right now tuning your own awareness by practicing imagining teleporting to places. How does it feel to have that capability? Could we embrace having family relationships and friends, not only from across the world, but in other places in the galaxy?
Oh, sure. And that has actually happened to me in the company of others a number of times. We like to call them missing time events,
right,
where we'll be driving along and all of a sudden we'll be on another part of the freeway someplace else.
Yes.
And that has happened under specific circumstances, very specific circumstances where we've been teleported or time traveled in a kind of a missing time. So that's not a usual and not a frequent occurrence in my life, but it has happened.
And here's a scenario. How about having a conversation with your body, the intelligence that surrounds your body, because it's a lot smarter than what's inside your coconut here. That field of intelligence, the innate biomorphic field.
Right.
And tell that field, I'd like to know more about when I'm teleporting. Please show me in a way that I can sense it, so I can start noticing when I'm doing it.
Right.
If you begin with the assumption that you already can doing it and are doing it, at least you open up the communication channel for that reality to reveal itself to you. Though it's like saying, if I believe in ghosts, I'm going to see ghosts. Well, of course you are. If you believe in orbs, they're going to be showing up in your pictures more and more. Yeah. I believe that energetic phenomena of time travel and teleporting is part of the capability of our consciousness by opening the door to it. I've already accepted that I can do it, and I practice it regularly in my dream time and in my meditations. I'm one of those that's an astronaut ready. I'm ready to start teleporting because I've been working on it for years.
Exactly.
We should teach it in schools, by the way.
Yeah. Well, look, we're now coming up to the 60-minute mark, and what I'm thinking, what sort of out of all of the different places that and openings that we've shared, what messages would you like to leave our viewers with for the coming year in this area?
The first message is that we have a range of realities available to us, and if we had a menu to pick from, let's say you want something new in your life and you want to manifest free energy and teleportation, become a free energy human inside, become a teleporter inside, in training, you might say. Take a look at the conference coming up for Global Breakthrough Energy Movement, the globalbem.com. Look at the range of talks and speakers that are going to be there. See what resonates with you. Make sure that the world knows that we're ready for this technology, because free energy is the entry point for teleportation. It's kind of like the first step of the Wright brothers before we bring you the teleporter. It's important for us to shake up our own understanding, our kids' understanding, bring it to your workplace, bring it to your social circles, and have that conversation with people. That is the gateway that we're wanting to open right now, the consciousness of it.
Thank you. Now, if people want to follow your work and want to follow the work of the Breakthrough Energy Movement, how can they do that?
I'm very easy to find. If you search on Google Fernando Vossa, you will get thousands of results that are videos, articles, lectures, and samples of my work. I am on Twitter and Facebook, so join my Facebook page, take a look at the portfolio of tools, and there's a reverse engineered Montauk chair in my collection there, Alfred, to take a look at. There's a teleporter called the HyperQ Resonator that I've designed, so people can take a look at it. I've built prototypes of this technology. So it is real. The other piece of work that I'm doing is with the Cobra movement, and that website is prepareforchange.net. This is an understanding that we are restructuring the global financial system, and we are also preparing ourselves to become sustainable humans, whether it's an eco-village, whether you implement sustainability in your home. So this website, Prepare for Change, gets us prepared. So what happens before this event, this galactic wave of awakening, which we are soon to experience, and it may happen this year, it may happen next year, but the faster we accept it, the faster it will manifest. So while we're watching the news with Syria and all these other things that are unfolding, don't get swayed. Be on your path. I'm on my path to manifest free energy and teleportation. I'm asking other individuals to start playing that way with their consciousness.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, and I hope that you will come and join us from time to time as we go through this process in an ever accelerating way.
You can't keep me away, Alfred. You've inspired me incredibly. Your work in exopolitics opened me up to participate. And I've come a long way since I first said hello to you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Namaste.
Namaste.